That was really cute. Aww. I like it. Felt very yes, dramatic. It gets you really pumped up, ready to start.
Yes. Wow. Shout out to sweet little Mr. B of Truth Seekers. So thank you, Mr. B, for that.
That was amazing. I feel like the movie's about to start. I'm ready.
We're ready.
I don't know how we can top that. I want to be totally real with you. There's like nothing we say at this point is gonna Anyway, that was cool.
We'll
for
try.
Real. That was cool.
We'll try. It was cute, right? It pumps you up. So speaking of pumped up, thank you, pumped up chat. I see you there. Hello. This is episode 11 of the Synaptic Circle, and it's tarot time. And I love to. What was my hope? Well, we're just going to get into it. So, community chat, thank you so very much for being here. I don't quite see the mods just yet. They're going to add Matthew and Aurora's links in there for you. But I love to synchronize my synapses based on a common theme or thread. And I usually have folks that I really can jump in on a subject, but I don't do tarot. The common sync, though, is I have had reads from both Matthew and Aurora. And Aurora, I think it was through Robert Khalil on Typical Skeptic. I don't know if you remember it, but you did a read for me. And I was just like, I know I met you, but this was something you wouldn't have known. And Matthew, I've had a gazillion with you before. So I'm really excited because we're going to just talk all things tarot, or however you would like to say it. So thank you both for being here.
Totally. Thank you for inviting me. Woo-hoo. Definitely. Thank you for having me, lady.
Absolutely. And I guess, before I go in my rants that I see in mom groups about
I would love to hear
start with the rant.
I would love to hear the mom rant.
Yeah, I want to hear about how and when you started, but the mom rant whenever you feel inclined to speak. So I'm in a bunch of mom groups online, and not everyone subscribes to like New Earth Education or homeschool or anything, but I peep around. And I watched a really interesting thread. They were just fighting amongst themselves regarding the devil's tool, tarot. And in the same breath, they're talking about, someone was saying, well, do you have rosary beads? And then another one is, she's like, well, I went to the wall in Jerusalem. Or, they were just talking about different tools of divination. So I'm like, this is a very interesting topic. So that's why I wanted to chime in a little bit as a mom and as an educator. So yeah, how and when did you start doing this? And what are your thoughts behind it? Let's go. Who's first?
Let's go first.
Go ahead, Aurora.
All right, I'll go first. Well, first of all, I hope they aren't using any playing cards and playing any regular card games, because the tarot is based off of those. So
that Uno,
devil's tool, whatever.
Devil's Uno. Yeah.
Devil's Uno. That's right. That's right. Well, I actually started tarot. I got my first deck when I was about 13. Okay, and I used to pull cards for my family, but I was like, I had to use the little booklet and everything like that, and they all thought it was really cute, that I was this 12, 13-year-old doing tarot readings and stuff. And then for quite a few years, I would say, I don't know, like 16, 17, I got distracted with having a child and all that, graduating and all that stuff. So I really put them aside for quite a number of years. I always still loved them. I always loved esoteric things. I always still collected tools of divination, even if it was just like a magic 8-ball. I loved the magic 8-ball when I was younger and stuff like that. With a lot of us probably did.
I love that.
But eventually, I found Matthew, and he used to do these Facebook Lives where he would pull cards for people on Facebook Lives, and Spirit literally told me to follow him. And they were like, I was like, okay. I was like, you want me to follow him? And they're like, yeah, follow him. And so I started studying what he was doing, and then he started doing all these classes, and I started just going down that line. And I'm like, this is, because that's what I wanted to do. I was like, are you guys trying to tell me I'm going to do something like this guy? Like, this would be so cool. I would love to do something like that. And they were like, yes, go. And so basically that's what I've been doing since. I learned all my best tarot stuff from Matthew. I'm just kind of adding my own mixture to it, So, that's how I started down this crazy winding road of tarot time.
Beautiful. So there you go, Matthew. So what about you? King
First
Tarot?
off, let me just say, I didn't know that we were your intro into tarot. That's a beauty. Yeah, no, thank you for telling me that. I'm deeply, deeply honored to be that person for anybody. I mean that really, really sincerely. I did not know that was your intro into tarot. And I guess Yeah, how did I get into this? I guess first off, I would say I'm definitely one of those kids from the family where they were like, "This is satanic, this is evil."
Were
And
you?
I actually kind of I was willing to believe all those things at a much earlier stage of my life. I remember being, I think I was 12 years old, and somebody in our church paid for me and my mom to go on this like vacation thing to where we went to this like weird seminar type thing where they were like, how to tell if your kids are into Satanism. And it was literally the checklist. Are they listening to rock and roll music? Let's show you some types of rock and roll music. I remember the only one I can remember off the list was John Bon Jovi. That was the only one that because it was the only name, that like I recognized at that stage. I was like, oh yeah, Joe, yeah, you did the song from the Young Guns movie. I was like, yeah, dude, I love that song, at that stage. And the other things on the list were like, are they into tarot cards? And are they into, I think, what was the other, there was another hilarious one. Of course, the Dungeons and Dragons, I think, was one of the criteria. There was another crazy one, like a ridiculous one. I don't know what it was, but anyway, long story short, I definitely came from that side of the population. But anyway, I didn't even really pick up a tarot card until 2012. It's funny that I'm talking about this because it's kind of the subject of my next book. But really, in 2012, I was losing my mind. I think it was the early stage awakening journey. I could feel some energy kind of ripping out of my body, and I went on this weird vacation with my first wife at the time. I was just hanging out at her grandma's house. And I'm pretty sure this lady just wanted me to get the hell away from her. I'm nearly positive she was just like, get away from me. And she was all, here, take those tarot cards. And I was like, huh, really? Okay, yeah, all right. And for that was the moment, literally right then.
Wow.
The first time I ever handled a tarot card. And I was mystified by them. I was a little bit afraid. But anyway, long story short, over a series of years, kind of like other people, I would look at meanings online and I would just kind of stare at the cards, but I didn't actually start reading tarot until 2016. And then a lot of other people have already heard this story ad nauseum, but it was literally like a switch just turned on in my body. Literally like a switch turned on, and suddenly it was a thing that I started doing. And so here we are 7 years later. And now it's one of the only things that we do. And anyway, I'll just say one other thing and then I will pause. I have noticed over the years how some people within our community really have taken the reins in tarot and created their own understandings of it. And Cassandra, you're definitely one of those people where it's like, you know what I mean? Like you took a little bit from everyone, like, yeah, I'll take a little bit of Matthew's method, a little bit of this guy, a little bit of so-and-so, and you created your own frequency out of it, which is the sign when you have deeply internalized a certain tool. It's like you'll be able to be influenced by many, but you'll create your own, thing out of it. And so anyway, yeah, good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And that is the key right there. I did exactly what you said. I just took what worked for me from other people, and how would I do this? If I was going to do something the way they're doing it, how would I do it? That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, though, so with each card, it means a certain thing. So your particular method, do you use any of the clairs for that, or you just kind of use your own verbiage and explain that card's meaning? Like, what methods are you taking from each person? How they deliver the information, or different? Do the cards have different meanings?
Yeah, I follow my gut mainly. I think you use a bunch of the different clairs depending on what your own particular gift is. You know what I'm saying? What you particularly resonate with is the one you're going to want to try to follow. But yeah, the cards do have, in my opinion, the cards do have a general meaning, but depending on what other cards you're pulling with it, the energies that you're picking up around you, what spirit's trying to talk to you maybe and tell you, just even what your eyes are being drawn to, particularly on that card, it can tell you different things at different times. So you're going to know like the underground, like the basic meaning of it, but then it's going to like build layers upon it depending on like when you're doing it, who you're reading for, what other cards are around it, other things like that, like I just mentioned. Yeah. So
okay. That makes sense. And just for if anyone isn't aware, because I learned this the other day, oracle cards, tarot cards, the big difference. One gives the message direct, right? Like it's on it kind of thing. And one is you kind of do the cards together or have the meaning behind it. Okay. Or is
Well,
there anything else you can share about that? Yeah.
Oracle systems can be made up of any collection of images or messages or symbology. It could be 100 card deck, it could be a 5 card deck. Tarot is a set of 78 archetypal images that, while could also be changed and often are changed by whoever the particular artist is that's working with that deck. I think it's different in that it plays to what we would call the universal archetypes and states of being, and just kind of the many roles that we will play throughout what some people call the hero's journey, or just our life on earth, if you want to go down that road. That I think is very different from oracle decks or oracle readers. However, you will get, I would say, the same wealth and depth of information from each side. It'll just show up a little bit differently. I've seen incredible things come from pure oracle readers that will create their own decks that have nothing to do with tarot, where it's like, it's a completely different system that they've entirely created. Like Aurora has a number of oracle decks that they're like nothing to do with tarot at all. And you'll be able to gather an incredibly deep and meaningful message out of that, whereas at the same time you can do that with tarot. It's just like a little bit of, I would call it a little bit of a different language. And when it comes to, I would say, the purpose of each of those differences in language, I think tarot is far more ancient and established and bridges many worlds, whereas oracle readings are more based upon the interpretation and the individual connection that the reader has with spirit. And so each of those could give you a nearly identical info. It's just kind of like a different channel. And then again, I might be over explaining such things. So
no, please do. I need it.
But,
I was checking out, my pal Paranormal Pixie here. She started the tarot as a child around 7 to 8, but mostly work with oracle cards as visual cues for my own psychic abilities. So
that's a good way.
So what do you think? Yeah, there you go. What do you think of that just in terms of 7 or 8? So that's poo-pooed too in the mom groups. And it's like, I think we talked about this last time, Matthew, but what are your thoughts? I guess we can go into the use and misuse of them, but
well, let's start with Aurora, because she has much more younger age kids, and then I'll give you my whole spiel on it. But yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Sure. About kids using tarot and stuff like that. I think you should definitely encourage them to follow what they're naturally being drawn to. You know what I'm saying? Like my daughter, first of all, very psychic, very telepathic. When she was about 3 or 4, I would be, practicing my tarot. All right. Because that was actually when I was first starting to like relearn it. And she would point at certain cards and she would say very, very simple and basic meanings of them. And it was right, and that's what tells me that, again, and I'm sure Matthew would agree on this one, that's coming from a past life. This is something you're bringing forward from another time, and you're not really learning it, you're remembering it. So I definitely would encourage kids to follow what their spirit is naturally guiding them to. I would not dissuade them from that whatsoever. They could have a really just natural talent that could, really help a lot of people. That could be part of the purpose here on earth. So dissuade them from that would be terrible,
Yeah, exactly. That's where I've been at a moment, even with my mom, because she studies all this incredible spiritual stuff, but she had one bad experience with that. So she kind of poo-poos it. My daughter is drawn. I was gifted these oracle and a tarot deck, but she was gravitating toward them. So I'm like, I think these are for you. And I see her in her room just checking them out and reading them and stuff. So I'm like, I did kind of try to say, does it feel good? And, go with that. And it's just a comment here from Drago. Did you see that?
What's up? How's it going?
Naisha Johnson, this for Aurora, gave a reading with her deck. You're right. It just kept building and getting more awesome. So the cards just build one on top of the other.
Yes.
So but sometimes you could do one card read, right? You've done that with me, Matthew. Just you got the one card.
I love doing the one card reading.
That's Matthew's thing. Yeah.
If you can master the art of a one card reading, I think you will always be able to find a usable piece of information about a person, place, or situation. It's just there's so much depth in the world of tarot. Watch out, because I will literally talk for hours and hours on it. But I want to go back to the whole thing about
Cool.
kids really
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
because
I
I
interrupted
actually
with
think
that.
it's incredibly healthy. I think that we're at a stage within our kind of social programming as a society where a lot of those barriers are being broken down. If tarot's even being discussed within your parent or the kids group or whatever it is, that's you kind of a sign that like some major barrier is broken down if it's even being talked about. And I guess I'm just one of those people that I would say please experiment with it. I know my son's 20, he'll be 23 this year, and so he's like past the point of where anyone cares if he uses it, you know what I mean? And he hasn't really been super into it. I mean, he has a lot of psychic dreams. He definitely has his own form of intuitive ability, but he hasn't been drawn to it in the same ways as us. But I think the reason why it's important is kind of a thing that I talked about in the book as well, and that is that there is a huge section of our population, people that are born with incredible talents and abilities. And there's, everyone talks about the starseed children right now, and you can make it into a meme, or you can realize it's also a real thing at the same time. And the reality is, like, a lot of these kids have very particular abilities and have energy centers that are open in ways that were not open at the stage when you and I were at that age. It's just different now. Like, the energy
Yeah.
body has changed. And I think we do ourselves a disservice, because there's so many of us that were raised at a time in which, if there was some kind of an infrastructure to identify those abilities for people, like, oh, you're suddenly somehow good at reading cards, or this kid's good at that, or like whatever it is, I think it just opens the door for a completely different type of life, which, maybe it's a bit fantasy like and a little bit idealistic, but I don't know. I Not to go on and on, but I just pray that everyone allows their kids to experiment with such things. And I would
Yeah.
say, for any parents that would be watching this, there is nothing inherently satanic or demonic about tarot. Nothing
100%.
whatsoever. Even the literal devil card in the world of tarot, even if you want to go to old school traditional tarot, even the devil card in old school traditional tarot doesn't really have anything to do with Satan or demons. In fact, the greatest demon in the world of tarot is us.
Mm.
It'll be you. You're you.
Yes.
That's what's crazy. The devil card is you doing
Really?
something to yourself in the ways in which we damage ourselves. So I always say that. I mean, there's nothing satanic about it. Now, other people will say, well, is it possible that my kid might, be messing with some tarot cards and open up a portal and this demon could come out? You know what I mean? Because that's people are going to have that
That's what
question,
they
and that's
talk
the
about. Yep.
rightful question. And
Yep.
for those of us that work with it, we'll probably be like, yeah, right. But for those that have not heard of that, the honest to God reality is that no, you will not. However, I will say this: with every type of spiritual tool, every form of communication or divination, intention is everything. So the reality is, if you did go into a tarot reading with an intention of communicating with a dark entity, you actually could. But it's all
I
about, what are you
recognize that.
trying to do? You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry, I'll
Yeah.
just go on and on about
No,
such
that's
things.
good. I was going to ask that too. But I agree with kids trying it, because there's a real big trend with TV shows and cartoons and all these things. I mean, the Omen stuff, there is this trending thing about young girls or girls like coming together and making the witch's brew and doing all that stuff. But anything could be done in a higher frequency or for the betterment of things, or it can be done for the dark of things. I just see it as a tool of expression. A child has a way to express themselves when maybe they feel like they can't elsewhere. So it's really, but if you do bring in the dark, then you're gonna have a bad time. That's what I just tell my kids. I'm like, you
Yeah,
have power to bring all this in. But I certainly don't poo-poo it or kick them out or anything.
totally.
Kick the cars out. Yeah, I'm all into it. What was I thought I saw another question for you, and I lost it. Let me scroll for a second. But do your kids have decks, Aurora? Do your kids, do you read for
No,
them? Mhm.
if they ask me to, yeah. I have one
Okay.
son that really, really loves me to give him tarot readings, and he's actually the one that's a little bit on the autism spectrum, and he absolutely is fascinated. I think actually, if he wanted to, he probably not wanted to. If I gave him a deck, I'm sure he would probably exercise using them. I just know that about him that he would be fascinated with that type of thing. So it's interesting that he's the one that is the most open to it. The other ones, you know, they grew up with me at a certain point in their childhood when for a while there, I actually had to put all of that stuff aside because, and this is kind of silly, but it was because I was afraid of alien abductions and stuff like that. So I decided, you know, the only way that I could go to sleep at night and not be afraid about this stuff anymore was I was just going to not choose to not believe in any of it anymore. So for a while, I just pushed it all aside. I'm like, none of that is real. But then, you know, life happens, and I had a different purpose here than to just be ignorant to that for the rest of my life. So they opened me back up, and here I am. You know, like that's how I got here.
Woohoo! You both take clients. I mean, I know, Matthew, that's your full-time gig, really, and Aurora, you're doing that as well, and your channel.
Yeah, part-time. Yeah, but yeah, I do. I love my channel. I'm mainly doing my card pulls on my channel at this point. I don't have too many readings that I get, mainly because I'm working outside. I have to work outside of here in order to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? If I could work more full-time in it, I absolutely would, of course. Yes.
Yeah, that 3D life.
I know.
I feel you, man.
Do either of you get a question from somebody that sometimes you're like, I don't want to ask that, or I don't want to? Is there anything you hear from people that you're like, you know what, I don't want to bring that in. Let me redirect the question? Or
I'll be honest, not so much anymore. I think because of the ways in which I do sessions, or it's like if I just think people that would have trite and meaningless or otherwise, you know, like just not relevant questions probably wouldn't end up booking with me at this stage, because I'm not really, you know what I mean, I'm not like publicly seen everywhere. People kind of have to seek us out. But I will say, at a previous stage when I was working at a physical shop in Los Angeles, you will get some crazy questions. Some of them are very annoying. I will be real, you know, there's a lot of the common ones like, you know, how many children am I going to have? When am I going to be married? You know, a lot of those like fortune teller type of questions, which here's the thing, those are rightful questions for people to ask in this life, and they're incredibly common. I think that when you field such questions all day, every day, you know, a lot of them do become kind of trite at a certain stage, but I would say not so much now. Other than, you know, there was a rash of people in 2023, which I say this lovingly but also seriously. One of the biggest questions of 2023 was, I'm booking a reading with you because I want to know if I'm in the secret space program. And it was like, do you think that's going to be answered via a tarot reading? Maybe.
That's a tough one.
No, it usually isn't, but that was like one of those ones where I'm like, let me guess, you want to know about this thing, correct? And it was like, yeah, actually I do. But you know, it's a rightful question. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the hard part about fielding different types of questions is when you take the question, you pull the card, you give them an answer, and they don't really like that answer. So they ask you in a different way, could you ask this then? And it's like, it's basically the same thing. And so then you have to like, okay, well, let's pull this again, you know, like, let's give you the same type of answer. It's like they have an answer in their head already, and they want you to say that answer. And if you don't, well, then it's like, it's done. We're done here, you know, but that's a little tricky. That's a little tricky to roll with that one.
Sure.
I will say, let me say what I somebody out there is gonna be semi embarrassed that I'm about to say this, including myself. There is one question that you're gonna get when you do online readings that I have to admit, and I know because I know I'll do a live stream soon, and people are gonna ask this question. So I'm not telling you don't ask me this question, but I know because I've talked to another, you know, I won't say their name, a famous channeler that we all know quite well, who gets this question a lot as well. You'll get an image of him in your mind's eye. And that question, the number one most annoying question he gets as well is, are there any messages for me?
Oh, Uh-oh,
But
I'm
He
I'm
does
telling
just
you,
so
it's happening.
I'm
he
just
does
gonna
so well
say
with
this,
those
right?
though. He really
Okay,
does.
I also love them as well because they open the door for really, really cool and wild things to come out. However, let me just tell you for real though, as a person that does this work every single day, there is no one sitting on the other side waiting to be okay. I have a message for you. There's not.
Gotcha.
But if you open certain doors and if you dive into certain areas and if you question in a thoughtful manner about things about your life, yes, there often is. But through my experience, there's no one sitting there waiting to give you a message from the Arcturians. Now, that's not to say the Arcturians don't have messages, so don't get it twisted in me telling you that's fake. I'm just saying that's one of those things that you learn to expect when you take questions from people and you realize that what you're really doing is being asked to read their energy. I mean, that's truly like what it is. It's not so much that spirit has a message, it's what do you read within the energetic field, which I think when you really do answer that, you'll find that you will always find something relevant. But it's just one of those ones that you always hear. It's like, let me guess, are there any messages?
I'm going to remember that because I think I've done that before. Or I'll give you a topic. I remember once I said, any general
That's
read on my
wise.
health. And when I said health, then you honed in on the bot, and it was actually pretty damn good.
I actually think
maybe
that's very,
subjects
very
help.
wise. I think it's and sorry to keep talking here, but I just noticed that questions are answered much more thoroughly by spirit when we have a specific question. And it's kind of a sort of a spiel I used to say when I first started doing readings, where I'm like, you can ask for a general question, you can ask for general details, but you will receive general results. People that want to really go deeply into what's happening within their non-physical world, I think sometimes the more specific you can be, the better. Yet at the same time, there's a double-edged sword to that, because then you're going to get other people that come in with such an intricately specific question that there is no possible way that it could ever be answered by spirit. And it's really, and you can hear it in the way they ask the question, that what you're really being doing is being given an opportunity to deeply reflect upon your inner world. It's not a question that you can ask outwardly. So sometimes people will formulate this super intricate thing. And so it's a weird balance, but anyway, you guys can tell I grossly overanalyze such things. So anyway,
that's why we love you. There's a couple of thoughts on the history of tarot. I was wondering if you all know about that. This one, first one from Lois. Hello on YouTube. Let's see. Can you see? I don't know if you can see that, Aurora. I heard the tarot was a store of knowledge left by Western spiritual stream when it had to go underground when the Templars and oil Western orders were eradicated. All Western orders were eradicated. Do you have thoughts on that? And I see another one after that.
Well, from my understanding, it's even older than that. Like, it's ancient. Tarot is an ancient thing. I don't know how far back it goes, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
Okay. The thing that's popping into my head right now, I did this whole YouTube stream about these things called cosmeric mirrors. Okay. And what they were was, it's this intricate mirror that it was like aluminum sheet foil, and it was built in a certain spiral that when people sat in the middle of it, they would have this feeling. First of all, it was scary. Okay. So they would have this feeling of dread. Even like the people who had built the thing and were running the experiments, they just noticed that this weird energy would build up in the room. But after you pushed through it, okay, people reported, and they didn't know each other. They didn't know that what the other people were reporting. And they would all come up with these same symbols just over and over and over again. People would end up visibly seeing these same symbols, and then they were able to take those symbols and they found them back in like ancient Sumerian texts and stuff like that. So I think it's something similar to that. I think tarot, because again, Matthew said something about like the hero's journey earlier. I do think that is what the tarot is meant to represent, the story of a human coming to full enlightenment in themselves. There's another word for it. I'm trying to pick it out. It's like self-actualization, I think is what the word is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like it's always meant to guide you back inside into yourself and your own personal spiritual inner journey of finding out who you really are, how you're connected to everything, what gives you purpose, and I think that these are just an ancient tool, so I think it's even I think it's even older than what
Even further than that.
the person had said. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you're right.
You see Drago sharing about the Anunnaki and
It
energy.
probably is. I can tell you this much, and it's funny because considering that I literally just do tarot readings all day, you'd think I'd have more historical knowledge of it, but I don't. But well, here's what I have come to understand through the law of one literature or sessions, I guess. I noticed that at a certain stage they talked about how tarot had originated in third density Venus. And so whenever I think of the history of it, for some reason, I choose to go to, well, it was started in third density Venus, which, not that I know much more about it other than that. But so I would say even farther, even farther back
Wow.
like
That's
into other
fascinating.
worlds.
That vibes. I like that. Yeah.
I think Ra even gave instruction. It was either instructions or like a tarot spread themselves. They actually like had given a bunch of information about the tarot, and I think there was at one stage somebody created a law of one tarot deck, or I think it was wait, was it law of one tarot, or maybe it was the Egyptian something or other. I don't know. I'm speaking so far out of turn. I know so little about that part, but who knows? Maybe it goes all the way back to Venus.
It could be. Hey, Alex, throw your question. I don't know if I scrolled far enough yet.
Yeah,
Here's one
go
for
for it.
Aurora. Aurora, do you have to reshuffle the deck and put it back into rotation if they try and ask the question wanting a different answer?
Oh,
You mean like
okay. Like if I'm doing like a 3-card pull for someone and then I do a separate question for them, I'll reshuffle it and do the whole thing over again. Yeah. Like put the energies of the word, the different phrase into the cards as I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
And it sounds like we were saying, I think these are from earlier when we were saying about how someone's like, no, they want a different answer. So try again. Do you just keep that one out or do you put that one back in?
Oh no, if I'm going to do a whole new card pull for a person, I'm going to reshuffle the whole deck and put the energy of what it is they're asking back into that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, here's a good one from Don. How do both of you clear your energy after you work with somebody?
Oh, that's a good question.
I
would say it starts even before the reading. I'm one of those people where after all these years, not that there's been that many of them, but I do qigong before every single session. Every single session. There's a few times where like maybe if I know I'm just doing a reading and it's like I kind of know the person and I'm like, oh, I've talked to them before. They just want to talk about this or that. Maybe I might not do qigong before then, but it's just a thing that I've trained myself to do. So for me, it's more about preparation for a session. And then afterward, and I'm going to make it super weird, but I'm being really, really honest. And then afterward, what I've noticed is that people's energy, if I do absorb stuff from people, it will clear out of my body. And this will be super gross for some of you, but everyone gets stuff like this when you really start moving energy. And I'll get a bunch of really big burps. It's like this form of energy will have to come out. And I've seen other people do this, even in the sessions that we do. Some people do a lot of yawns where you'll just So you'll just yawn over and over again. Some people will get this burp. Other people will have tears. Some people will have tremors within the body. There's a bunch of different reactions. I've just noticed a lot of times after I've seen someone and it's an intense thing, I'll just like, you'll have this weird like burp that comes out. But the reason why I mentioned that is because I think we're coming to the stage in which both the physical and the non-physical bodies are in much greater levels of union, and they're working alongside each other with non-physical energies in ways that they were not only a few years ago. Part of it has to do with the so-called quote-unquote ascension process, or what is really just the changeover in physical dimensions as everything raises in vibration. Different systems in the body start working alongside each other in a little bit of a different way. And so not only will your physical body react differently after doing readings or sessions, I can tell you that usually doing YouTube ones is kind of the most like mania like inducing version of it, because you'll feel like this crazy weird rush afterward, and it's like your body gets stuck on fast forward in this weird way, and it's like this hyper verbal energy comes in. And it's sort of like affecting the physical body on a much greater level. And so anyway, for me, I will usually go for a walk, which is such a dumb answer, but literally I do these long walks around their neighborhood at night, or just separate yourself from technology. But anyway, not to go on and on, but for me it's more about preparation for the session rather than what we do afterward. And so
What about you, Aurora? Do you?
For me, it's so funny because that's exactly what it feels like after you finish pulling tarot cards on a YouTube live stream. Is like you get this fast, like I just get super hyper verbal. I can't stop thinking about it. I can feel all the people that are tuning in to my show, and depending on if they like it or not, like I can feel the different energies coming through. So I basically feel like I just write it out, and I'll be real. I smoke some weed. Okay, like that's part of how I calm down. I got to smoke some weed, and if that doesn't get through it, and I mean, I do a lot of dancing. I do a lot of light weaving, so that's kind of how I prime my body, because it not only gets me, depending on what song I'm playing, you know what I'm saying? Like that's really going to put me into a different state,
Nice. I like that. Well, hi, Victoria, my friend Victoria from Argentina. She's a tarot virgin, she said. So her question is, do you need to go to a reading with questions, or can you just go in and be like, okay, here I am, talk to me? Is that like what you were saying? Like, do I have messages? Is that what on the same line as that?
It'll certainly help if you have questions. That's just my opinion. I think it helps when we have questions, or at the very least, if you say, I want to look at these areas of my life, not even that you have specific questions that you'll write down. You'll just know, like, I want to look at, like I want to look at my love life, or I want to know, what do I need to know about, my career, or, normal things like that. Or you could have different subject matter, but I think it's good to at least go in with an intention. What do you think, Aurora?
Yeah, no, I do think the same thing. I think that if you come in wanting to look at something specific, because I mean, I can pull when I'm doing my main energy readings. Okay. It is helpful for me to narrow it down if they have a specific subject matter that we're talking about. But if they don't, then I just suggest to them, would they like me to ask their higher self, basically, what is the most what's the top priority message that they want to give? You know what I'm saying? And then you kind of just got to trust your gut, and you kind of just kind of go with the flow and hope that something lands. And a lot of times it does, though. A lot of times I blow my own mind when it's like, okay, because the hardest part is getting over the fear of saying the wrong thing, which is still not something I'm super great at all the time. But if you get over that, if it does, because sometimes you get things coming through and it's like, this makes absolutely no sense. I don't want to say this. This feels embarrassing, and then you take the chance and you do it, and they're like literally like moved. They're like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking about, and it's like, okay, we're good then. We're good. We're going to keep going.
You have to trust yourself.
Yeah, you have to trust yourself. It's definitely a trust building process for sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Here's the archetypes are old, but the assembly of tarot we know is French from that time.
It probably is.
There you go. There go.
I have heard that.
And Draco's bringing up Orion Wars, or older than the Orion Wars, billions of years old. Oh yeah, he's diving deep here.
It's at least
I can't read that fast.
5 bazillion years older than Earth.
They're both from star systems. Kuan Yin. Oh, I know that name. Oh, not messages. My little buddy from Argentina. So when you're doing tarot, are you getting any messages from those who crossed over? Or is it more your higher self?
I think you certainly can. Some of it will be higher self. Some of it will be the guides that are with that person. Some of it will be that person's higher self. Some of it will literally be elemental energies. And then there's this whole other, like, it sounds crazy, but there's a literal network of beings that exist within what we would call the shared fourth density astral space that literally sit there waiting for humans that try to connect with spiritual energy. Problem is, not all of them are always good, so it really depends upon the vibe and the energy that you're working with. But there's a host of beings that will assist you in that journey. I've just noticed most of the information we usually get comes from the higher, what we would call the higher self of the person that you're working with. But it could also be passed on relatives. I would say, though, if you're looking for messages from dead loved ones, you're better going to a dedicated medium, a person who speaks dedicatedly with beings that have passed on. And not to say that tarot readers don't. I've just noticed that if that's the thing that you're looking for, you'll get much better results from people that specialize in doing just that. But who knows? Other people have opinions.
We have a profound message from Alex Patu Hi, Alex. How are you? Does time and serving others through this gift make the gift stronger within? That sounds very Obi-Wan, I think. Does it?
Okay.
I think
I
so.
think
I guess
I
it could.
think I kind of feel that question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think so. I think that like your own, because how we feel about ourselves too, and what we think about ourselves is going to affect you when you're doing this type of work. I think I'm having a hard time putting it into words because I could feel the question, and it's like the intention to. That's why intention is so important, to know your own intentions, because if your intention is truly, I want to be of service to God with God's help, I want to help this person, help me get the answer and the message that they need. If you are able to put that to the flame, so to speak, kind of condense it, boil it down, make sure you check it, because your mind loves to just wander and have all these different thoughts, and maybe there's other things that are coming up at play. Like, I'm sure there are people out there that don't necessarily do it to help people, but do it because they want people to pay attention to them. That type of thing. I think that would probably affect someone's accuracy, not even accuracy, but like what's coming through is going to not maybe resonate or hit with the person as much as someone who is like, I'm really doing this to be of service to others. Like that's really good. You just got to really check in with yourself. Where's your heart coming from, and what is it that you're really hoping to achieve? And as long as you stay pure in that, I think you're good to go. I think it will get more intense and stronger.
I agree.
Would you at all relate, this is my own bit from what I watched in those crazy threads, would you relate it at all to praying, like a form of prayer? Because I was kind of picking up on that. I was trying to generalize these moms and be like, it's just another form of asking for guidance.
I think that's a really good way to describe it. I've noticed that when I start doing a lot of reading, and honestly, just literally yesterday morning, when I had someone, I was sitting right here in this very chair, I have observed over time that, when we begin that reading or when we sort of move into a person's energy field, there is literally a prayer that takes place. And it's usually, while we might not call it a prayer, I'll call it maybe an invocation or a moment of connection with spirit. Or honestly, I think the phrase I use is, we're going to open up your energy field and welcome your guides, or some cheesy thing along with that. But no, we do. It is very much a prayer, which, if you want to get technical, it's a conversations with God or spirit as such, right? So I think it definitely is.
All right. Yeah. I'll get a little more vocal in these mom
Oh,
groups.
you know what though? I will
gotta
say one
trust
other
my
thing
instinct.
though. Let me just kind of rewind really, really gently. And I don't mean what I'm about to say in like a cynical way or like in somewhat of a negative way, because some people might hear me say that and be like, oh really? But I can guarantee you that it does not matter for what purpose you practice repetitively any form of psychic skill, even if it was for evil. The idea is that the more you do it, the better you get. And we've seen evidence of this all throughout history, is that your like polarity has very little effect over your abilities, because there's many truly evil people in our world who are incredibly intuitive, incredibly psychic, incredibly tapped in, and they will only get stronger in that sense. While like intention is everything, when it comes to really developing your abilities, it doesn't it'll go any way you want it to go, which is a weird thing to look at. But when you really look at the nature of how non-physical energy works, which kind of goes along with the law of one, is that it doesn't matter whether you're good or evil, right or wrong. They literally don't care. If you're willing to kind of step foot into what some people call that void space, or that sort of, just that realm of pure energy, truth will be there every time. It doesn't matter what the reason for it is, I guess, is what I'm saying. And anyway, that opens the door to a bunch of weird, like, philosophical, like, meandering. So I'll pause there. But,
I love it.
No, you're absolutely right. And the first person that popped into my head was like an Aleister Crowley type figure. You know what I'm saying? Like, he definitely was not on the side of the light, you know what I'm saying? But he definitely had a talent, that got stronger the more dedication he put into it. That dedication, devotion, loyalty to what your cause is, even if it's not to service for others, and it's service to self. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I love that. Hi, Jane. I'm late. Hello, Miss Jane. Chiro sounds. I love Miss Jane.
Yeah.
She's one of the moderators. Nice to see you here, sweets. Nice, Laura, with some history here. We know classic tarot is from the 1600s. However, the art of divination, readings are ancient for sure. So they actually put a timestamp on tarot. Well, you never know. I guess it doesn't. You just never know. Depends on the perspective. It probably goes back as far as because I saw what Drago said too, and I'm like, oh yeah, makes sense. It all makes sense. Yeah. There are these types of people. I'm sorry. It's really hard, right? With the chat. You've done this. You guys do this. I'm like,
you're actually doing really, really good. Can we take a question from Don Rogers on Facebook? He says, why do a lot of readers look up and to the left when they connect? I just happened to notice that question, Don. I didn't notice other readers look up and to the left when they connect. I can tell you, I definitely do though, and I'll tell you why. And maybe not some people might go left, some people might go right. Sometimes I do actually go right, but this is a real thing. And I'll tell you about it now. So in 2 or 3 years, when one of your favorite YouTubers telling it to 10,000 people on a live stream, you can say, I already heard it. But don't worry, most people won't think what I'm saying is real until someone more popular tells them. But you have dedicated openings within your energy field. It's talked about in many different forms of historical spiritual literature, many things from like the assemblage point talked about by Carlos Castaneda to the chakras in the body. But one thing that we do know beyond a shadow of a doubt is that every single person has an access point, and that's an area within your auric field where there's just a little bit of an opening. You can think of it like a porthole. You could think of it like a little window where you can sort of peek out, or almost like a keyhole in a door. You know what I mean? Where you can sort of like look through, then you can peer through it. And for some people, it's on the left side. For some people, it's on the right side. But one of the things I noticed when I started doing this type of work was that when you attempt to connect with spirit, what you'll notice is that you'll get pulled in a certain direction. And it's very, very important to honor where your sort of internal kind of momentum pulls you to, because as you learn to continue to turn in that direction, you're going to learn that you're going to get a little bit of a different quality of in information. And so I encourage people to use that. Almost like someone will come and stand next to you. And then at the same time, we've noticed this in private sessions sometimes where people's guides will come in, and it sounds a little cheesy, like in the old cartoons, where you'll have one being on one shoulder and one on the other shoulder. But the reason why that's an image that's spread throughout time is because it's literally true. And there are a host of spiritual energies that do kind of hang out on either side of your auric field. And so I would say, guys, before I go on and on, just notice where you get drawn. So
exactly.
That's a good one. I'm glad you brought the two up, like the jinn, because all the things we're talking about, and no matter what religion or where you're from or your culture, it seems to be similar kind of items. You have the angels or the devils on your shoulder. You have reading coffee and tea leaves, and isn't it all like similar? I mean, we're all talking about similar things here. Seems like, and I like that, Moon. The act of prayer is what matters, not the method. And then Dennis, stripping your own ego for the true helping of the one you're there for. That's what you got to do, kind of, right? Well, before you give your read, you just got to like prepare yourself, and it's about them, right?
What's up,
you got to
Dennis?
put yourself to the side.
Hey.
I see these peeps. Beautiful. Yeah, throw in some questions, peep. Is it words that carry the power? Oh, it is words that carry the power, not a wave of a wand. Yes, I hear that. You can. Oh, these are lovely. I think I'm far behind. Sorry, guys. I didn't keep up here. Mournian, what?
No, that's okay. Allow it.
Chiro, do you see that one there? Because I'm like it.
It's okay. I know. I already know who that person is. What's up, bro? Thanks for stopping by.
Loosh bomb.
It's okay. I know.
I think she sees that. Okay, here's some more clairs again. Many claircognizant, clairvoyant people will alter the visual focus to help them focus on the information they receive. That's kind of what you were saying, right? Through the peephole and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how far back I am? I love your point. Okay. Yes, I love your point of view, Matthew. You say it right out loud. Amen. That's why I'm going on 6-7 years here of being like, I'm loving Matthew's vibes.
Thank you.
And Dawn and is Jane? Are you on that, Miss T-Row? Well, you guys. She is pretty fast. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. This is I feel like Tourette.
Oh,
Like,
you're fine. You're fine.
You're doing good. I heard that
this is so good.
Aurora
I'm
was
like,
going to
what?
pull some cards for us. I hear that's why people
What?
showed up here. That
Oh,
somebody was.
I'm pulling
We
cards.
heard somebody was going to
I
pull
didn't.
cards today.
Hey,
I like how I
someone.
just dropped that
I
out
would
there.
not put.
Boom.
I didn't
You're
even
gonna
put that
pull
in the
cards.
description, so don't ever feel pressured for
I
that.
do
Oh,
have them
Yeah,
right here.
there you go. Wow, and shame on you in there. You're not wanted here. Okay.
Who are we going to pull them for, though? Are we doing this for the collective? Or are we doing this for just someone specific?
For the sassy pants over there. No, I'm just kidding.
Sassy pants? Okay.
No.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
The collective. I'll start with the collective if
You
you're
wanna
down
start
with
with the
that. I
collective
think that
reading?
would be those who showed
Yeah.
up today with their hearts ablaze with ready to receive beautiful information. How about that? It's pretty
Let's give it a
specific.
shot. Let's give it a shot. All right.
Oh,
Let's see
beautiful
what
Deirdre.
message Spirit has for the collective. Okay. For everyone watching the stream now or in the future, what message would Spirit like to give us? Okay, just bear with me for a second, guys. It's almost ready. I can feel the energy when it's done. Okay, so it's basically to like one more time, and then we're good to go. Message for the collective. All right, I got it. We're ready. Okay. Message to Spirit for the collective. Boop. Okay. All right, here we go. Message for the collective. Message for the collective. First card. Boop. All right. We got the Sun card, the first card. Okay, so this is a really nice and nice and bright card, bright energy we got coming forward here. So this is something where truth is being exposed. Okay, think about how bright the light is of the sun. Okay, so it's going to show you everything. So this is a time where things that maybe haven't been known to you before are going to be coming forward. Also, they're telling me like seeds that you might have planted. Okay, this is a time to nurture those seeds. Okay, let's say it's not something that where it's maybe getting ready to bloom quite yet, but it's definitely time to shine your light on new projects. Okay, or new creative ideals that you've been thinking about. The other thing, okay, and telling your truth too, telling your truth, sharing your truth with people. I'm seeing that as like a person like I'm ready to tell my truth to people, and I'm going to just shine it so bright that you just can't miss it. Okay, but the thing you got to remember about the sun is that the sun can burn. Okay, so if you shine that a little too brightly, if you go a little bit too hard on divulging every single little tiny detail of your truth, it could burn a little people. So you might just take that into account. Okay, but let's go ahead and pull. I do 3-card pulls, so let's go ahead and pull 2 more cards. Okay, so what is the next part of the message? What is the next part of the message for the collective? All right, here we go. Second part. Oh boy, we got the Queen of Rods rolling through. Okay, so this is about actions. Okay, this is an energy. The Queen of Rods, she is about not so much thinking about about things, like thinking it over and stuff. Like it's time to just take action. Okay, like she has some special things, some special talents that the world needs to see. But inside, if this is you're feeling more like the Queen of Rods, you could be a little bit hesitant to share certain things or take certain actions because she kind of feels like there's something that she's like embarrassed of or that she's ashamed of. And that's the thing. Okay, it's all coming into me right now. Okay, so the Rod, you have to remember too, shame is a killer for taking these actions. Okay, do not let yourself feel shame. It is time to be bold, shine your light, take these actions, because that gives people hope. It gives people courage. It gives people inspiration. Okay, you could be inspiring to other people by being willing to step forward and take action and to shine yourself, show yourself for the full version of you that you are. Okay, but let's go one more. Nice. What's the last part of the message? What is the last part? Last part. Ooh, justice. We got justice. So if you're doing this, okay, if you follow your heart, okay, and you decide, okay, I am going to be bold, I'm going to be bright, I'm going to show myself, it made me think of you, Heidi. I'm sorry. It made me think of your intro and stuff like that. Like you were talking about your face coming through and stuff. So if you keep at it, okay, you're definitely going to get what you deserve. Okay, I'm going to say that. It's coming for you. It's a rebalancing. Okay, so if you felt off at all, if there's something that maybe hasn't seemed quite fair to you, all right, like it's time to rebalance it, and it's time to put things right. I do get a good feeling about it. I don't get a negative feeling about, because it can go either way when you really think about it when it comes to justice, getting what you deserve, but I get a really positive feeling about it. So I feel like the hard work, and just for everyone in the chat too, the hard work that you have been putting in, the courage you show and taking action and not thinking, just doing and taking the action, all right, and really shining your light bright, you are going to receive a reward for it. It is going to go your way. I don't know why they're just like briefly shouting this. If there's any legal matters with people out there listening to this, like it's going to go your way. Just tell the truth. Tell the truth. Okay, so there we go. That's what I got. Ooh. That is the message for the collective in the chat right now. I hope that helps some people out there.
Hell yeah. I know myself. Let me know in there. Quick question, or what deck is that?
It's called the Aquarian Tarot deck. It's my favorite deck. Actually, it's the one I actually bought this when I first when I moved to Florida, okay, and I was in my early 20s. I was going to school for midwifery, and I lived next to this little shop that I could walk to. It was called the Gypsy Palace. I had this girlfriend that worked there, and she showed me these cards, and I was like, I absolutely have to have these cards. I loved the artwork on them. I can't get away from them. I just can't. So, but follow your heart when it comes to different decks. Follow what you're drawn to the most. And I don't think you have to have the decks. I hear this from people. I don't think you have to have them gifted to you in order to use them. Because I certainly didn't have it gifted to me. You know what I'm saying? But, if it does, maybe that's just a little bit of a, spirit's like, hey, we knew you weren't going to buy this without us gifting it to you. So here, take it,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just coming up.
That's so good.
Don't be afraid. Yeah, don't be afraid to buy your own tarot deck.
It was Aquarius deck, you said?
The Aquarian tarot deck. I am not. I love Aquarian energy, but because it's my 7th house. So 7th house is things that you love. You know what I'm saying? So I really, I love Aquarian energy, but I'm a Gemini.
Okay. Hey, Mr. B, this is the intro man. We were talking about you. They liked your intro. Hi, Mr. B. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it was a great intro, Mr. B. It was great.
He's my friend in Oz. Yeah, he's in Oz. He's over. What you doing up? Oh, I love that. Yeah, someone was asking. They also brought up the Robin Woods deck. Do you use that too?
Oh, I use the Robin Wood. That's the one we use within our class, which coincidentally was actually given to me. And I have kind of like you were saying, a lot of people you should only use a tarot deck that's given to you. It's absolutely false. I would say I think it's smarter to choose one that speaks to you. Choose one that you feel that you can understand the art, one that you're drawn to more than anything else. I'm going to make a really dumb comparison. It's sort of like buying a gun. You have to choose one that fits your hand, that feels natural to you. But no, seriously though, you do. You have to choose what deck feels good, which one looks good. Do I like the way it works, or how the images? So I would say yes to that. But I use Robin Wood Tarot. It's the only tarot deck that I use now, which is weird because I have a literal box of tarot cards in the other room, which I should probably give away because I don't know if I'll ever use them. Maybe we'll do giveaways at some point.
You do giveaways, yeah.
No, I should actually because I got a bunch of them. But it was literally given to me, and it was one of those tarot decks where when I first got it, I actually did not like it. It was given to me by the lady that kind of got me started in doing what I do now. And I to me, it was very 1990s Renaissance fair, and I was like, whatever. I wanted something mystical and kind of dark. And literally at that time, I had bought the Aleister Crowley deck because I was like, yeah, this is dark and, mysterious, this is very cool. And, it's going to give me different messages, where I honestly had those kind of ideas. And what I found was I just couldn't really understand it. I mean, it's the same cards. And granted, there's a couple that change based on who created the deck. They'll take a little bit of artistic license and they'll rename a few cards. Crowley did that with his. but it just, the symbolism didn't click for me in the way that Robin Wood Tarot did. And a lot of you guys that have heard me talk about this in the past have heard me say this a million times, but the one thing that does make Robin Wood Tarot, I think, a bit unique is that it tells you the meaning of every single card. She programmed that into her symbolism, which I think is a little bit different, because when people look at the most traditional deck, which is the Rider Waite card, for most people out there, they've seen the Rider Waite, or other people say Rider White. I don't know the right way to say it, so I just say Rider Waite because it looks like weight. But anyway, Robin Wood Tarot is just like a slightly modified version of that with a few different little bits of artwork, but she interwove some kind of magic in them that I think allows people that know nothing about tarot to pick it up a little bit easier. And then again, maybe not, because I used like the Aquarian tarot deck for a while as well, and I also really enjoyed that one at the start. And it also has a number of its own pieces of symbolism, like they all do. But for some reason, the Robin Wood was the one where I'm like, I'm just gonna keep using that one. It seems to work, and I don't hate it. But here we are, almost 8 years later, and it's the only one.
Oh,
So,
did you ever go to Native Spirit Lodge? Do you remember that place when you were
Native
out here,
Spirit
Matthew?
Lodge?
Have you heard of that?
No, I
There's
don't
so
know.
many decks there. I get so intimidated, but I'm feeling called to them. I'm just intimidated. I even put my hand over them.
Yeah, you should.
Talk
You
to me,
should go
talk to
and
me.
just kind of touch them and feel them
Yeah.
and see which
I
ones
just
look
keep
good.
getting not yet. That's all I keep getting, not yet.
I,
So
I think that's a really
Actually,
smart idea. Yeah, go ahead.
I had an idea too, actually. I was just thinking about that. I personally, I have fun with spirit, okay? And I like, okay, if there's something that I want, but I'm hesitant to buy it, I literally just tell them, like, I'm not going to buy this unless you find a way to get it to me.
oh,
Okay. And every time I've done that,
That's
like with
smart.
some seriousness,
That's smart.
they have given it to me. I'm not joking. Like just like the Gypsy Tarot, the Gypsy Palace store that I was talking to you about. Okay, one of the things that was there was this crystal egg. It was a little tiny crystal egg. Okay. And it was like, okay, I wanted to use it for like a crystal ball purpose, you know what I'm saying? Where you could see visions in it, but I did not want to buy this crystal egg. Okay. So I told Spirit, I said, there's no way I'm going to buy this. So unless you find a way to get it to me, I'm not going to buy it. The next day I came there and this particular one had dropped on the ground. It had a little crack in it. And so my friend who worked the store, she said, well, we can't sell it now. So you go ahead and have it, and so I ended up getting it. I've had a lot of really weird, creepy shit like that happen to me when, like, I asked one time for a silver cross. I prayed to the Christ consciousness, and I said, as a symbol of my faith, I had saw this woman who was a client of mine when I was a midwife, and she had this most beautiful silver cross, and I said, I want a silver cross, but I don't want to buy it. I said I want it to be gifted to me within the next 7 days. Okay, and I had all these different little requirements, and within 3 days, okay, the man I was dating at the time that ended up being the father to my children, he comes, we had gotten in a fight, okay, and then we made up, and then I'm at his house, and he goes, oh yeah, my grandmother, who was a nun, wanted me to offer one of these to you, and he brings out 3 silver crosses. So I got to choose one of my, yes, I love when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
So if you are hesitant, and you, like Heidi specifically, if you're not really sure which tarot deck to go with, tell Spirit to put it in your face somehow. Either have someone gift it to you, or let's say you're walking around and it just falls on your foot or something. I don't know, not in a painful way, but test them. I mean, I'm all about doing experiments with Spirit to have them show me that this stuff is real.
Awesome.
Smart.
I'd love to do that. Lilu is saying, hint for deck shop and look at multiple card images online before purchase. Have you guys done that? Or you mean go through the imagery and if it resonates with you?
That's
so that you don't have to open up the box.
There, yeah. You just kind of
Okay.
sit there and look at each one. But I think that's kind of the luxury of working in a place like that, is that I could literally just sit there and open every single one and be like, yes, no, which is kind of what I did. So maybe I had a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah. Drago, I see that up there. That's beautiful. I can't wait to interview you. I'm getting him on a human experience hangout. So I'm going to pick I know he has a huge story here, but he reads black belt and reading body language. Heck yeah.
There you go.
That's the big stuff. I see you, Professor. Hello. Good. Thank you again for this chat, folks. You guys are so sweet. You get a very nice beginner introduction tarot deck. Do you see I keep going back and forth, tarot and tarot? You guys
Oh,
both say
it's fine.
tarot?
We know what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
But seriously though, this is a question for everyone here. Which one is it?
Which one is
What do
it?
you feel?
Tarot A, tarot B. How do you all say it?
I say tarot.
Pop it in there.
Yeah.
You say
That's how I
tarot?
say it.
I say
Tarot.
tarot as well.
I go back and forth, mostly because I have the silly potato song in my head when I say it.
It is though.
I feel like
It's just another version of potato. It's okay.
Hi, Miss Tanya. I see you too. Oh, well, beautiful. Well, my goodness. Well, what about you, Matthew? Do you feel called at all to pull anything? Or
Oh, we can. Yeah,
you're like
totally.
waiting till
Totally.
I have to
We
miss
can.
Patreon next weekend?
Actually,
But I'll be at
Patreon
the
is next
festival.
weekend. Just so you
Yeah.
know, it
Yes.
is actually. It is.
I
It is
see
still.
A's. People saying A's. Say tarot.
Yeah.
Tarot,
Okay.
this
No.
is
Yeah. That's right. I think it is. I feel tarot, but
tarot.
but yeah,
Okay.
we can pull a card. Is there a subject matter that you want to do, or do you want to do like a collective card, or do you want to ask a question? Notice I said
Are there
ask.
any messages for me, Matthew? No, I'm just kidding.
No, honestly, I
Just
say for
kidding.
the
I'm
record,
just
it's totally okay for people to ask me that question. Like I just it's just one of those ones where I'm like,
I know. If you're
not
just tuning
in
in,
a negative way. It's just one of those
yeah.
ones, you'll just learn to notice over time. There's just certain kind of like I call it like transactional statements and sort of it is. There's sort of like a transactional language that you'll notice develops around the, if you want to call it the psychic or like intuitive world, and that's just one of them. Are there any messages for me?
It's like, just the thing you do. And if you just tuning in, he was explaining a lot of that earlier.
Okay.
Well, is the collective too broad for you? I mean, it seemed to
Oh
work
no, I
with
don't
you,
mind. Yeah, we can
Aurora.
just do
Yeah,
like, what do we need to know?
there are
Yeah,
so many
I
peeps
love
here.
collective readings. That's my
Yeah,
main
let's
thing.
say, what do we
It's that
need to
overall vibe.
know? Okay, so we're gonna do it. Let me just shuffle here. But those of you out there that know me know I'm an advocate of heavy shuffling and massive randomization of the energy at hand. I think it's critically important to just seriously, really, you got to continue to mix it up. I say this all the time on our channel. Over the years of watching other psychics, you'll see people in their own world where they do this thing where they're just like, let me just shuffle the cards here. Let me just shuffle them. And literally all they're doing is taking massive chunks of cards and rearranging them. And that was one of the things that I noticed super early on when I was doing this, because I don't know, I've come to learn over the years I'm hyper obsessive and analytical, and I just sit there and I'll just watch people. And I just always noticed that at the start where I'm like, people aren't really even randomizing their energy. How do you know you're actually getting what people are supposed to be receiving rather than what your hand just touched? Because you'll also notice a phenomenon that takes place when you're doing readings where sometimes spirit will bring back the same card over and over again, which is real. It happens. And then sometimes on the flip side of that, there's an effect that happens where, as especially on social media, where as you're doing a lot of readings and you're imparting a lot of energy, certain cards will get charged up. They'll kind of differentiate themselves from the deck. And unless you really go through and shuffle your cards again before the next question, there's a good chance you'll just boom, pull the same one again. And it doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the fact that we've already invested a lot of energy in that one symbol. And so there's this weird balance that you have to learn to walk in terms of like repetition and knowing when to pull more and knowing when to shuffle. And Lord, it's a whole other world. It's a total whole other world. But anyway, you guys can tell I'm ready to do the tarot book. I'm like knee deep in like tarot analysis. But anyway,
yeah,
okay,
you blew me away when you said there were 78 cards. I had no idea there were 78 characters. I thought there were like 20 or something, just multiple times.
Actually, you said another key word: characters. For those that are trying to learn to read tarot, that is, in my opinion, that's one of the best ways in which to do it. You start treating every single card like a character from a movie or a television show or a person in your life. When you learn all of their mannerisms and what they love and what they hate and what they're afraid of and the things that they're prone to doing, it gives you this sort of catalog of information that your body can retain differently than, say, if you were trying to memorize sort of static meanings about cards. You treat them as individuals. There's no question there's a series of friends or people from your life that you haven't seen for years, but if you saw their face for half a second, you'd know exactly about them. You'd know what they love, what they hate. You'd know what kind of a person they are, even if it's been many years. You find that takes place with tarot as well. When you treat them like characters, there's a different layer of absorption of the data. And anyway, it's a fascinating thing. I'll go on and on about it, but we'll just pull a card for the collective. Okay, ready, guys? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. We're doing it live in the moment. We don't know what it's going to be. 3, 2, 1, and boom.
Wow.
Well. We have a 6 of Swords. There's going to be people out there that are going to be like, yeah, that's good, right? Okay, don't worry. I'll explain. Yes, it's really good. It's really good. Because no, really though, a lot of times, like, the reality is there's 78 different cards, and some of them you're going to have a little bit of a relationship with because you might have seen them on other channels, or you've looked at tarot, or you've seen little bits of them through this or that. So you have somewhat of an archetypal relationship with them. And then there's this whole other, what I call like a community that's buried within the intricacy of the deck of tarot, and there's certain cards that come through that have very specific messages, like super specific. This is one of those super specific messages, you guys. When you get a 6 of Swords in your life, you must have faith and proceed. You must keep doing what you're doing. In fact, this card tends to show up for people at times in their journey when they don't know where they're going or how they're going to get there. They'll know they have to do something. They'll know they're on a journey. They'll know they are on some sort of a mission, but they're missing certain things. You know what I mean? Sure, you have a lot of tools and knowledge, but you're going to need a way to row yourself across that water. And that's when we begin to notice the presence of spirit within our lives. And so a 6 of Swords comes into your world to tell you that you're being guided, to tell you that there's a hidden hand assisting you on your journey. And for some people, it's really good. Like for me, some people out there that know this know it's kind of my favorite card in the world of tarot. I mean, literally it is. 6 of Swords, kind of my favorite one. But it's one of those ones that leaves you hanging. That's the problem with 6 of Swords. It says you must have faith. You are literally being guided right now in this moment. You've been seen. You've been acknowledged. They're helping you in ways that you can't help yourself. A beautiful thing for most of us. But then one might ask, okay, but why? Well, why are we going? What are you doing? What's all this about? And that's where they're like, don't worry about all that. Just relax. And you're like, why? And so that's where they leave you hanging, because they will never tell you why. That's the hard part about the whole thing. And so I guess because you did 3 cards, we'll just do one more, because I'll just go on and on.
I love it.
We'll do an influencing card, which might be one of the things that I just am more prone to doing. Some people do, like, past, present, future. Some people do 3 pieces of collective energy. Some people do, step 1, step 2, step 3. I think one of the important things to mention is that everyone's going to create their own tarot spreads. And the more you can do that, the better. And by tarot spread, I mean the meaning or the relevancy behind where each card shows up. And so when I do kind of the single card readings over YouTube, a lot of times it's just one card, where we're like, let's just do one piece of data. But then you can take it one step further by saying, okay, here's a piece of data from our world, but what might be influencing us? What's a factor of energy that's at play in our world? And for some reason, just over the years, I've learned to rely upon the influencing card as being a big piece of data for people. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, we're in this stage, but why? What's going on? What do I need to know about it? And so that's our next card, is the big influence. We don't know what it's going to be. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. What? Oh my God. Okay. Well, we were talking about this. We were talking about the devil, right? And then the devil rolled in, and then here it is. And this is the fun thing about doing it live in the moment, because you don't know. You don't know what's going to come out. It's like, what do we need to know? What's influencing us? So this is a very particular message, because there's going to be some people out there that are going to see a 7 or 6 of Swords. They're going to be like, okay, great, have faith, keep going. awesome. I need to push forward in my life. I need to, have faith and just power through. And that's good, right? Yes, very, very good. And then we're like, well, what's influencing us? What's a piece of energy that's having an impact on you in this now moment? And then the devil comes in and you're like, well, okay, so
That was awesome.
let me explain for the record. For when you guys pull the devil in your readings, especially in an influencing position, it does not mean you're being influenced by the devil. Well, unless that's the question. Let's say if that was the question, and we're like, am I being influenced by the devil? When you ask it straight up, right? Straight up, and then they're all boom. Here's, that's a little bit of a different scenario, but most of
Well,
the time we're looking at an
yeah.
influencing card, and the devil says you're actually doing something to yourself. And so we'll say, all right, we understand our shadow self is really our greatest, if you want to call it an enemy, although it's truly not an enemy, it's a piece of ourself to be healed. The devil will come in and say, well, yes, that's true, but it's usually negative self-talk, negative behaviors, and things that you do that keep yourself stuck or small or limited in some way. And then it can also be the vices of our mortal world, which is another side of the devil. It shows itself more within our behaviors and the ways in which we separate ourselves from the divinity within us rather than refer to an outside attacker or an outside source of energy. So anyway, let me just wrap up. When we have this here, honestly, what it's telling us, I'm going to be really, really real, and I'm trying not to make this lame, but if you guys were to see the devil in a moment like that, it means that you need to get your shit together and that you need to bring in better self-care, and that you need to look at your reasons why you're keeping yourself small and stuck and toxic, because nothing is coming from outside of you when the devil shows up. It's them going, well, you're doing that to yourself right now, and so anyway,
Boom.
that was our second.
I think that's huge, and not just because of the person we had to kick out before. Thank you, moderator Jane. But with what you read, Aurora, because to me, all those beautiful things about, shining bright and moving forward, that little devil on the shoulders was keeping you from doing that. So it really does align. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
I had the same similar feeling actually when he was pulling those two cards. I was like, oh, this actually I feel like I can feel it fit in with the other message. I was like, yeah, that works. Have faith, keep going. Don't let yourself your negative self-talk or the things that hey, like for me, okay, personally, if like for a collective reading, if I just to give someone an example of like how you could pull it and make it about your own self. So for me, that Six of Swords and the devil, I'm trying to quit smoking. Okay. So like for me, it's like, have faith, keep going. The devil, the things that I'm doing to myself, I need to just keep going and have faith. I'm going to be able to overcome that. I'm going to be able to take that chain that I put on willingly, off, so that's just one way that, I can look at it, but you're going to have it in your own way. You got to trust your gut, that first instinct, the first thing that comes to your mind. That's what I do anyway. I just trust the first thing that comes to me when it comes to those types of collective readings. Totally. So I hope that really helps some people out there. Yeah.
Honestly, that's really smart the way you related that to your own life, because that is a perfect example of the devil card. For those of you guys that are watching, that's how the devil actually, when it comes to tarot, so to speak, that's how the devil card interacts with you. It's not from an outside source. It's a thing that you're doing to yourself. And so it makes sense that you would see Six of Swords and be like, I got to push through. I got to push through this thing, man. And then the devil's like, well, you're doing it to yourself, and it's like, yeah, I know.
Exactly. I think it resonates bigly. And I see you, Moon. I know it goes 6 swords and the devil. I'm not feeling good stuff. And I guess that's the perspective.
Okay.
But I get that too. But with the verbiage behind it and the description, and that's why you have, someone a specialist who studied it for a while and knows what they're saying about each card. It's the puzzle piece comes together and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Let me just add one more horrible thing to the mix. If we were doing this, it's not really a horrible thing, but if we were doing this on a live stream, I have this thing where I never leave people hanging on like the devil card or the 10 of swords. No, for real though.
I know, I've seen that before.
People that watch me will notice I don't leave people hanging on that. So for the purpose of everyone else, here we go. Swear to God, last one. Can we just have step 3 in the mix? 3, 2, 1. But what? Okay. What? And then we got justice.
Oh,
And there's Victor.
And then
Oh, shit.
justice rolled into the room, which was that was
that
from
was my
yours,
third
right?
card
Okay,
too. That was
right.
my third
So
card as
justice.
well.
Wait, it was your third card too?
Yeah. She had
Justice
that
was
one
the third
too.
card I pulled as well.
Okay, because I wasn't even going to
that's
do
a
the
lot
third
of
card
people.
until right at that moment where I was like,
I'm
screw
putting
it.
that in
Maybe
the
we should
chat.
do a
Big.
third one. Boom. And
See,
so
justice.
justice. So here, let me just clarify this for everyone, because some people seriously, like somebody in the chat will get weird about a devil card. They'd be like, well, I don't know. And that's okay. But just know, you guys, when justice comes into your readings, what's done is done. Everyone's getting exactly what they deserve. It could be beautiful. It could be victory, but it could also be karmic. It could be you're going to receive karma. Every now and then, justice will come in. I swear to God, and you will feel like you're being punished by the world. And what sucks is that sometimes you are, and it's part of the human experience. So, justice based on the condition of your now moment or the condition in which you're receiving justice usually tells you what side of it you're on. Am I on the victorious side where everyone finally gets what they deserve, or am I on the other side where I'm getting what I deserved all along, type of a moment? To me, this is a very powerful energy. It's also the sword of truth, if anyone wants to get weird, because it'll straighten things out in your life. Like justice will straighten things out. I guess just the problem is it doesn't always do it in such a fun way. That's the weird. That's no, I mean, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't though. It doesn't. It's just like,
It's almost like
you know,
the sort of truth. It's like, where haven't you been being honest with yourself? Because guess what? That sort of truth is coming through, and they're about to show you. They're about to show you where you haven't been being honest with yourself, which kind of goes in line with the sun energy too that was coming through. So
I think it's perfect alignment. I like Victor's take too here. You could be slaying the devil with the 6 swords if you really want another perspective. I like that too. When you were doing
actually, you could. You have 6 swords at your disposal. So if you want to go even deeper into tarot theory, by the time you get the 6 of swords, you've already accumulated a number of very high level skills. It's just the problem is they won't always be applicable to the current moment. That's kind of another issue with 6 of swords. It's like, yeah, you got ability, you got skill, but is it the one you need right now? That's the hard part.
What's the tower card? Dreaded. I don't think I've seen that one. The dreaded. Would you do the same
the
thing
tower?
she's saying?
Yeah, go ahead, Aurora. What do you
Tower
think about
card.
tower? What do you feel?
If you
I
pitch
honestly, okay, I know the tower card. Okay, it's very rough if you're going through the tower card moments. Okay, here it is. Here's a tower.
This is a good example of different towers, because I'm gonna get the tower out of the Robin Wood as well.
Yes, do it. But the thing is that, okay, when you are getting to know yourself, okay, and you're building a relationship with yourself, all right, you need to build it on a strong foundation. So let's say, like, with the justice card, let's say you've not been being as honest with yourself as you think you have, okay, then a tower moment's going to come through, and it's going to rock your world. It's going to completely demolish whatever it is that you have built, unless you built it on a solid foundation, in which case I don't think that it's going to have as much of an impact on you, because everything that isn't for your highest good, so to speak, needs to come tumbling down. It needs to be started over from scratch. Okay, so tower moments, they can be really harsh, they can be really difficult, but it's just giving you an opportunity to shake away what's not meant for you, or what it is that needs to be let go of. You know, that's how I look at it anyway.
I very much agree with that. And here we're just going to show the difference in stylistic towers. She's got the Aquarian, and you guys will notice the Robin Wood Tarot Tower is a lot more like the traditional Rider White version of the tower, which is, you know, usually this castle-like structure being struck by lightning and falling to the ground. And in terms of the meaning, I very much agree with you. I'm kind of weird because I don't do reversals in tarot. And for those of you guys that are watching, what do I mean by reversals is we never do reverse cards. In multidimensional tarot, there's never a need to turn a card over to understand if you have the good version or the bad version. But the reality is there's both a good and a bad version of every single one of these cards. And you kind of described both of those within the way you had interpreted it as well. But yes, the tower will usually tell you something's not going to work out. Yes, it's usually telling you that something's not coming together. It's telling you to change your plans, to tear it down. but it is also a symbol of escape. And if used wisely, the tower can be escape from bondage and all that it entails, which is just one of those hidden meanings that I read years ago. And I honestly, not to make this even weirder, but I think that was from something Aleister Crowley had said. You know how you'll read random quotes in the internet, and I was like, whoa, really? Damn. And for some reason that stuck with me ever since. And what you'll notice is that the tower will show up for people at times, not because something is failing, because they're giving you the key to get out now. So it's like, this is your moment. Get out now, end it now, flee now, and you can avoid a bunch of doom or a difficult scenario. And so sometimes the tower will save your life, is what I'm saying. It's not always a harbinger of doom. It's saying, like, you know, like you will eventually wreck if you stay on this road, but you could rip it down now and start again over there. And so there's a lot of use in it. I would
I
like to
love
think.
that. Do you guys, either of you have a favorite card where you're just like, I mean, just one, I don't know, one that makes you get so excited to share it with someone. You're like, oh, look at what you got. This is the best. Or is it really?
Well, I have a favorite card, yeah, but my story, well, okay, I mean, no, my favorite card is probably the Two of Cups, and that's because my original tarot deck, I lost it. I didn't have, I lost the Two of Cups. I didn't even realize it until I went to go take the class, and I just think it's the prettiest one, and I like that it symbolizes like partnership and connection, and I mean, the Lover's card is kind of a more dramatic version of that. I'm trying to find it real quick. Actually, when I first pulled out my deck and I flashed you guys, this was actually on the bottom of it. Oh, isn't that pretty? Oh,
yeah, they are sweet.
So yeah, so that's my favorite one. And not only that, but I saw some real magic happen with that card. I'm not joking, like real magic right in front of my eyes, where I had my deck, my deck split into two halves. Okay, and I was listening to this song. And I was starting my weird hand movements that I like to do that I call light weaving, but this was at the very beginning of it. Okay. And at the end, and I looked at the bottom of, I knew which cards were on the bottom of both of these decks. Okay. And at the end of the song, a card that was on this half, okay, hopped over to the other deck and went behind the card that was on the bottom. So it was like, and that was the card that was showing, you know, it was actually, I think it flipped over to an Ace of Cups, which is another really nice, pretty card that I really like. Okay. And yeah. So, I mean,
that's cool.
I've seen crazy cool things with tarot. That's all I'm going to say.
So two of Cups. That's a really good one. I would say for me, definitely, like we said, Six of Swords. The reason why, though, I'll just say why. And it's a really cheesy reason. I've never said why is the Six of Swords my favorite. Honestly, I don't think I've ever said why. Because when I first started this journey in the final weeks before I left my old house and my old job and my old marriage and everything, I would just do readings for myself over and over again. And I remember that I would, you know, like a lot of new readers, I would ask the same question over and over and over again and wait for a different answer. And there was one day where I was literally just like, should I do this? Am I really leaving? Am I really, 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 really going to do this? Am I going to leave my entire life behind and do this change? And I remember Six of Swords came out like 3 or 4 times in a row one day where I was like, what, again, oh my God. It was like, it just kept showing up, and it was literally, and you know, the answer is yes, proceed. Do it. Have faith. Go all the way. You don't know where you're going or when or how or why, but you have to go. You have to do it. And so it honestly gave me faith that I needed to push through something. And that was in July of 2017. Then I would say the other card along with that, I really love the Star and I love Temperance, because they have a dual role that no other cards have. Temperance and the Star in the world of, and I guess if you want to get technical, multi-dimensional tarot, they have a thing that no one else has, and that is that they are meant to remind the beholder that you are a bridge between the spirit world and the physical world. And while they're both in a little bit of a different way, they're the only two characters that have that trait. So
I love the Star. Yeah, that's the other one. I really love that card.
That's the one that resonated, because Matthew, I don't remember when you were at my house for that crazy little party. That was the first card you drew for me, was the Star, and I remember that one.
That's a good one. It's also the most extraterrestrial card in the world of tarot.
I think I then told you, I said, I have some ET experience I haven't shared before. And I started telling you some. It was so cool. Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, you guys. I mean, a little semi wind down. Bye, Paranormal Pixie, by the way. She's hanging out. She loved the conversation.
Hey,
the
thanks.
star is one of Lilu's favorite too. See, Galactic fam. Yeah, totally.
There you go.
Totally. And for any of my mom friends watching, or ones that stalk, I should say, I hope you've learned something today. And I hope you feel like you can reach out with any more questions, because as some of you have read your coffee grains and, asked for tea reads and, those kinds of things, or coming to Disclosure Fest next weekend, or some of those things, I hope you can see that this is another form of prayer and of looking into yourself and getting answers you seek, whether you go on a walk and you ask the flowers or you're asking the cards. I do hope that you can see a little bit clearer in all that. So I'm so grateful you're doing these polls. As a little bit of a wind down, though, we have 7 days until the hard copy of Mr. Matthew Mournian's book is out. The Kindle's out now, right?
Oh no,
early
it's
Early
on
copy.
pre-order. So for some reason they won't let you do or they wouldn't let me do a pre-order of the physical book. But yeah, no, it's coming out on the 22nd, and I'm shocked that people already pre-ordered it. I don't know. I didn't think it was gonna happen. So thank you.
I pulled a real weird move, but mostly because I talk about tech illiterate. I'm like, Kindle. I'm like, do you need a Kindle?
I don't know Kindle
like, what's
either.
a Kindle?
I barely use it.
Yeah, I bought it on accident, and then I put it back, and I returned. I was like, wait, no, I want the book.
Yeah,
I want it
I'm
on my shelf.
I'm a physical book person as well.
Yeah, me too.
That was me. If you saw like a.
Oh no, I don't see those. It showed me that like a number of people have bought it already, but it doesn't tell you anything else.
Okay.
So I don't know. But
they returned it already. But I can't wait for the hard copy. Yeah. And Aurora, how often are you streaming? Or it just depends on your work schedule, right?
I pretty much always go on Fridays. I try to take Fridays off, but it's I've kind of cut it down to every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I would like to go back to once a week again, but it's just been so difficult to really squeeze it in there. So, but just look for me on Fridays. I usually post the day of that. That's what I'm going to do, because that's usually when I finally figure out, am I really going to do it?
And this is
I like write it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks in my head, and then okay, now we're going to go.
Yeah. And it's YouTube, right? You're not go to
YouTube.
Rumble or anything. You go YouTube one. Perfect.
Just YouTube. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think under the description of this, wherever you're watching it from, hello, my Twitch friends. I hope you enjoyed this one today. You'll see their links there, and rememberyourmission.com. And yes, from Tanya. Tanya, can't wait to share that with you. By the way, Tanya, I thought a lot about you during those reads, and I'm going to go back to that one really quick, because I'm still little body reactive-y. When I've gone on shows and talked about my content or experience or whatever, I had that physical, visceral reaction when you guys were reading, especially with the devil card. And because I could feel that you specifically said, what is the influence here? And with the collective, I didn't even think vices. I thought of, we're the only ones holding us back. And that's the devil mindset. We are crippling ourselves. We are the ones going, no, not yet, or I can't, or we're doing it to ourselves. And that is a devil mindset, whatever if it's a figure or frequency. So it was brilliant. I'm going to be replaying that over and over. I think that little chunk of reads there. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Totally. Oh, and someone, our friend from Argentina, she said, after all this info, I will get a tarot reading soon. She's the virgin.
Just know everybody does it differently. That's what's wild about tarot. You could probably go to somebody in Argentina and it'll be, or wherever you are right now, and it'll be so completely different. That is really, it's probably the most open to interpretation of any medium of divination out there, because you find when you really absorb it, you start making up all your own meanings, which some people are like, what? But no, you will. And those will be the best ones, is what's crazy.
Well, and Victoria, I think you should start in their streams. You should check them out.
We will be doing more. I'll just say that before we go. We haven't done hardly any live streams since February, because we were doing the book, and then I also have a multiple time a week training group that I'm doing right now. So like we're in a stage of heavy activity, but around the end of July, all that ceases, and we're definitely going to do more shows again. It's just like
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it's a busy
that's why
time.
I'm really happy, thankful. Thank you did this, Matthew, because I know how busy it's getting. And on that being said, Aurora, are you going to go to Florida? Because Matthew is going to be speaking at the Disclosure Now conference. Are you going to be going?
I'm trying. I
I know,
don't
especially
know for sure yet.
it's
I
so
want
far.
to so bad. I just need to work out logistics if I can actually do that or not.
Yeah.
But I know I'm like, all
I'm
my
the
friends
same
are
boat.
gonna be there all at the same time. I'm
I
like,
I know with
no.
every post, I'm like, oh, and I've been
I thought,
watching them get
it's like, what is
down.
it? FOMO? Is that what it is? Like
I
fear of
have
missing
FOMO.
out? Like I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to miss it.
I'm gonna
So
watch online, like just everybody's pictures and the day of being. I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone just relax on the beach and stuff. But yeah, there's no way in hell I can get over there. So that's just not happening. That's not gonna
No, I
fall on my
know it's a
foot.
long way, dude. No, I
Yeah,
totally feel you,
I
man.
am
Yeah,
strapped.
yeah.
Thanks, Tanya. She loved it. And John Kins. And Jane had one quick question. I think this was yours before, Jane. Which do you ask? She asked if you both did tarot and oracle. Do you guys do both of those? I wanted to make sure I asked that for her. Was that your question, Jane? Do you most guys just do you work with tarot cards?
I have a lot
Totally.
of new oracle decks. Actually, I actually was thinking about incorporating them to like pull one oracle card before I start my tarot readings if someone was
Oh,
interested in that type of thing. So I mean, I'm
okay.
excited to test these ones out. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
but oracles aren't something I use on a regular basis. I'll just say that. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't use oracle cards in any readings at all, but I also don't use tarot in every single reading. So it's like I've especially over the past year, I've noticed there's a lot of readings we do where I don't use tarot at all. It's more like the nature of what a person's looking for. But I've just never really used oracle cards, but don't let anyone think that that's because I don't think they're good. I think they're amazing. It's just I've stuck with what I'm good at. And for me, it's usually reading the energy body and timeline energy and doing tarot. So, while I don't use them, I hope everybody does,
Awesome. Well, if I fall into a deck one day, I'll be sure to share with you guys what I get.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you to the chat. Thanks, Jane, for keeping it real in there. I saw her like she was a quick draw for a moment. We all have the haters, don't we?
I can't
Oh
wait
no,
to
I
go
love
back and
them. I
look. I
know
didn't know there
exactly
was,
who that
yeah.
person is. It's okay.
Who was it?
It's okay.
Oh, what was their name? I
So,
don't know who it
I
was.
won't
yeah,
say
well,
it here, but I'll tell you later.
tell us
All
afterwards.
right.
Okay.
Tell us afterwards. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. You have a beautiful, blessed night and be your best self. Bing. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. It's fun.
Bye.
Thank you guys. And now the long dramatic closure.